Did you see The Invisible Man this weekend? See what I did there? Plus, Joel talks about parasites. That and more on today's episode of The Real Review, so stay tuned.
Welcome to The Real Review.
Welcome to The Real Review, sponsored by Parametric and Lazy Ape Studios, where you get some of the latest happenings, real thoughts, and perspectives in the world of film and television. Everybody, I am here with Joel Argy Matey Cunningham.
You shot me in me other leg, Matt. Tis true.
Brilliant.
'Tis true.
And who am I, Joel?
I am here with Matt, fermented plum juice.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm not getting that reference.
You had to see Parasite.
Okay, I didn't see it.
There's so many times, it's funny, I don't know if you ever experienced this, but I'll be watching a movie or a television show and I'll think, that looks pretty good. I could totally try and eat that.
Yeah.
For some reason, they had some fermented plum juice in Parasite and somebody was drinking it a couple times. They drank it and I was like, I could probably try that. Sounds pretty good.
I don't know if I've ever felt that way unless it was like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And I'm like, yeah, that flour made of candy looks awesome.
In particular. Yeah. That is true. Yeah, I think that's
a buttercup
for
that tastes like a buttercup.
I
don't know.
That must be such a delicate ecosystem. You imagine if like one or two bugs or mice gets in there, that's just like you're dead. You're done for.
Yeah.
I don't even know how he would have done
are there. They're taking care of all that.
Running around with fly swatters and rat.
They're taking care of it. They're good. Yeah. They're so good.
Yeah.
But anyways, everybody, thank you for tuning in. This is The Real Review. And if you haven't had a chance to listen to us in the past, let me break it down for you real quick. Joel and I have differing perspectives and how we approach film and how we review and absorb that information. And Joel might be a little bit more critical, analytical, possibly negative at times. Like he's got a slant that direction where I have a slant where I'm like more optimistic and like to have like just fun, and that overrides a lot of things that might be, nitpicky or something like that,
Might be.
Optimistic about things. Anyways, we blend those two together. That's The Real Review. So you get a little bit of both camps and get to see what that looks like from us.
That's a good way of putting it, Matt.
Yeah, totally. But Joel.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell people how to get connected with us?
For sure. There's a number of good ways to get connected to the podcast. We have our website, which is reelreviewmedia.com, as always. We also have our Facebook, which is facebook.com/reelreviewmedia. We also have our Instagram and Twitter, which are both at reelreviewmedia. And then we would love to hear any thoughts, opinions, perspectives, input on the podcast, on the films we've had a chance to view and ones you've had a chance to view. You could shoot us an email, reelreviewmedia@gmail.com.
Definitely.
The place to do it.
Definitely.
Do it now.
Love it. Love it. It's good.
Yes.
Anyways, so we got two movie reviews today, and kind of we got two different movies. So I saw a movie and you saw a different movie.
I will say before we get into the reviews, I tried to go see a movie that came out this week.
Yeah.
But it was kind of like none of them really were of interest to me. And it was like, I've been meaning to see Parasite.
None of them spoke to you?
None of them spoke to me.
None of them sparked joy for you?
Not really.
Okay.
No. And it was like I had an opportunity to see Parasite. And so I'm like, I'm taking it. I'm doing it. So that's why I saw it.
So what's really funny in thinking about this, and I just got done telling you this, we're going to start off with The Invisible Man. Actually, you know what? I'm just going to give the intro and then we can talk about this because it all ties in together. Okay, so we got The Invisible Man. The synopsis they have: when Cecilia's abusive ex takes his own life and leaves her his fortune, she suspects his death was a hoax. As a series of coincidences turn lethal, Cecilia works to prove that she is being hunted by someone nobody can see, hence The Invisible Man, directed by and written by Lee Whannell. And it stars Elizabeth Moss, Oliver Jackson Cohen, Harriet Dyer, Aldous Hodge, Storm Reed, and Michael Dorman, and a number of other people as well. Exactly. So what's funny about this is in 2017, you and I both had Upgrade on in our top 10 list.
We did, yeah.
Yes.
And I've heard a number of other people.
Wait, was it 2018?
Since, I believe it was 2018, yeah.
Oh, it was maybe it was 2018.
It's 2018.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, we both had Upgrade in our top 10 list.
Right. A number of people have seen it now that I've heard from, and they were all like, "It's such a good movie."
Yeah, Upgrade's
I was like,
awesome.
I know.
Yeah, Upgrade's really, really good.
Yeah.
And it's intense, it's unique, it's dark, it's twisty, it's fun.
Yeah.
It's good. It's a good movie. So really oddly enough, I was looking forward to The Invisible Man, but I didn't even look into like the creative team behind it. And I don't know why.
Yeah.
I just went into it thinking, great, let's watch it. And then I watched the right before going into it, I pull it up on IMDb, and it's Lee Wanell who wrote and directed Upgrade.
Yeah.
And I was like, what in the world? How did I not know this? So like within 10 minutes of walking into the theater, my excitement level went through the roof. I was like, great. If this is anything like Upgrade, then great. I'm excited.
Yeah.
I was already excited for the movie because it looked good, but walked into it and I left feeling satisfied with what I got.
Nice.
I had high expectations. I wouldn't say they were surpassed, but I will say that they were met. And I really enjoyed this movie. It's a thriller more than it's still like a genre like horror movie, but it leans more heavily on the thriller side of things. Mm-hmm. And it's I feel like a movie like this would be so easy for someone to fall into like stereotypical like jump scares and like the camera pans a direction and like something's gonna pop out, like that kind of thing. There's so many like the camera plays to the fact that it knows there's an audience watching, waiting something. Like for example, there'd be an element of with Elizabeth Moss in a room, and the camera just pans over to like an empty chair.
Yeah,
and then you're like, people are like, what are we looking at?
Yeah, is there something there?
Yeah, that's the thing. And then it pans back. It's just like stuff like that. I'm like, this is really interesting, like filmmaking. And I remember he did stuff like that in Upgrade, and especially how it followed like the guy around, when STEM took control. Mm-hmm. But I think that there is some really unique stuff like this in this movie, which really lends to you being like kind of on edge a little bit throughout the movie. And it's not like an action-packed movie either, which I think is really interesting, that it kept me engaged and I wasn't bored. Yeah. It was just like, what's happening? There's something happening. I don't know what. They're not even telling me what's happening, but I'm seeing things happen. Yeah. And I'm really like, just really curious and like kind of nervous and excited about what is going on. Yeah. And really, really enjoyed it. I was trying to think of negatives. And I think maybe the only negative I can think of is how certain story beats are explained narratively. Like, well, if this happened, wouldn't this mean this? Mm-hmm. In my head, I can justify it. But somebody who wants to be really critical, I feel like maybe if you saw it, you'd be like, well, if that happened, I don't think that, I feel like you might be like that. But it didn't take me out because I feel like I can justify it. Well, if that happened, I think this would explain why it's like that. Mm-hmm. And I don't have a lot of negative things to say. Elizabeth Moss is so good in this movie. She like plays this like unhinged, crazy person, but not crazy person / like, she plays like all the ranges of emotions, and she does so good. And you're totally like on board with like all of her actions, why she did. You care for her and what's going on, her plight. There's several times in the movie where you're like, is this really happening? Is this happening? Like, am I being, Shyamalan here in some way or form? Like, and then you're not really sure either one or the other. And I don't want to spoil things as they turn out, but it was genuinely a good time at the movie theater. And I think that was really thing. Yeah. What were you going to say?
There's a couple of things that popped in my head. Was one, do you know if this takes place in the dark universe that Universal is putting together? Any clue?
No, I don't think so.
Does it seem like, no? Because it doesn't seem like, it seems like it's a standalone type aspect. Yep. The other thing was, this kind of, when I heard that they were coming out with another Invisible Man movie, I was like, not another, remake. Yeah. But then when I saw the angle that they were taking with it, I was actually kind of excited. And I think this is one I will try and see eventually. Yeah. Between seeing Parasite and this, it came down to more like time. Sure. I would say less than like interest. Yeah. But this was like the other leading one that I would maybe see. I was really excited about the idea of doing something that's kind of like using modern techniques of cinema and visual effects to create sort of a suspense where it's like almost you as the audience member can't trust what it is that you're seeing. And that's something that's very rare that you can do in cinema, where you can like literally make the audience go like, what am I seeing? Right? Is that what I think? What?
Yeah.
Where it's like a mystery that you're actively involved with the character that's experiencing it at the exact same time.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what it came across as. I wasn't excited, like if it was a ton of jump scares and stuff, that's not my jam. I wasn't looking forward to that aspect. I don't know if that's a big part of it.
I'm smiling at you, but I think that's not like the focus of the movie.
Gotcha. But it looked more of like kind of scares you would get in Haunting of Hill House type thing.
Yeah.
Where it's more of like you're sitting there and something's happening and you're like, look at that. Wait, what is that? What is going on? Yeah.
Yeah, kind of like that.
That's kind of how it felt. So
yeah, it was great, dude. There is one moment in the movie that like, and in the theater I was in too, myself included, like mouth open, genuinely shocked. I was like, whoa, like they just did this thing. And I was like, that was shocking. And there was an audible gasp in the theater. Everybody was like, because it was, I don't know, it was just done so well. The execution in this is just really, really, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
So, Lee Wanell, I'm like, he's creeping up the list of like directors I'm looking out for now, like stuff that I want to see. Plus he plays to my, like, I love the horror genre, and that's like all he's been dabbling in. You know, he wrote and, had a small bit in Saw, in the first Saw.
Yeah. And
so I think, and I really like the first Saw compared to the other ones. It's more of a psychological element than it is just a gore fest. Yeah. But I think that this is, this trend that he's on right now, super exciting. And what's really exciting about it is, again, this is a Blumhouse venture. Shot this movie for $7 million.
Yeah. Low budget.
Low budget.
Kind of their jam.
It is their jam. But guess what? $7 million. It made $50 million opening weekend alone.
Yeah, they make a ton of money on most of their projects. They're like one of the only consistent studios to do that.
And I think other people need to be watching their lead. Or like, I don't understand why this isn't like common practice. Like where you have studios that are willing to. I mean, obviously it's Disney now. Like throws most of the big money. They don't really care because like we have all the money. And then, but I think other studios could take a page from their playbook and just be like, you know, we can make an awesome movie for, you know, we don't have to have $200 million to do this thing. You know, we can do it for way less. And this is proof right here. So it was Upgrade. That made a ton of money too. And actually most of Blumhouse properties make it, even the bad movies make a ton of money because they have such a low production budget, you know. It's cool. I really like that. They're probably my favorite studio for that reason, just in that like regard. Yeah. But yeah.
That's awesome.
Super rad.
So what are you giving it?
Oh, I'm going to give it a 91.
That's really high.
Yes, wow. I really liked it.
That's probably going to be up there.
I actually want to see, it's one of those things where I want to see it again. I want to look closely at some like scenes.
I love that. Yeah.
You know, I want to be like, what am I missing here? You know, kind of a thing.
Seeing if it plays out.
Yes.
A certain way. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Really excited about checking it out again. Really excited for Lee Wanell and what this means for him moving forward. If we're looking at the past two films, 2 for 2 in my book. And I can't actually wait until you see it. I feel like you might have some, I feel like you might like it as well though.
Yeah. I'll try and check it out here.
But yeah, anyways, that is The Invisible Man. Joel, you saw a different movie that I didn't get a chance to see, but this is really a 2019 movie.
It is.
Yes. Yeah. And so tell us about Parasite.
Parasite. All right. Well, synopsis for this one. A poor family, the Kims, con their way into becoming the servants of a rich family, the Parks. But their easy life gets complicated when their deception is threatened with exposure. Original title was actually Gisjang Chong. I'm not going to try to pronounce every single actor's name in this, and I will say it's not an attack on the fact that they're Korean names. I don't want to mispronounce them, and I don't think I'll do a very good job. But there's a large cast in this film. There's pretty much 2 families, 2 kids in both families, and then there's like a whole side set of characters that kind of play in a couple times. It's primarily about 2 families, and so going into this, I'd heard a lot of things. I think one of the things that I had done purposefully in a way, especially when there's films like this that are, Oscar contenders and winners at this point, is I don't want to get a lot of information about, because a lot of times they can spoil it and can spoil what elements are going to play out of the course of films. Because a really good storyteller, a really good filmmaker they're going to surprise you most of the time. They're going to make things go in a direction that maybe you wouldn't expect or see coming. And I think this film absolutely does that. It's one of those films when you sit down, you watch it, you kind of think it's going in this direction, and then about like halfway in or so, things kind of go in a direction. It's one of those films about things kind of like how much can everything fall apart. And it doesn't fall apart though, I think, in the way that you would expect.
I love like just when a movie will just like take you in a different direction.
Yeah.
I love that.
And it didn't get, so one of the things I will spoil kind of slightly.
Be careful on
very
the spoilers.
slightly. I'm not going to give like
because
specific,
I want to see this.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give specific details of it, but the term parasite, like it doesn't really apply specifically the way you think it does. It's not about, because I had heard a number, and I think it's important to clarify this because it confused me a little bit, at least initially. It's not about a parasite, like a worldwide epidemic, collapse of the entire world. And I heard a couple, and that might be something you knew.
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I did know that's not what the movie's about.
Right. But I was thinking that.
Okay.
And because of that, I went into it like the first chunk of the movie thinking, well, when is this epidemic going to happen? When is this? Because I had even heard...
When does the zombies happen?
Right. Well, usually I wouldn't say something, like usually I wouldn't assume that, but I'd actually heard from one person in particular that they said they knew for a fact that that's what the movie was about, which they were way wrong.
Oh, wow.
That wasn't at all what the movie was about.
Yeah.
So I'm saying that more just so people can approach this kind of with the level headed.
It's not Resident Evil.
No.
Okay.
Now, that being said, it's not like it needed to be that, because this film is a very good film in and of itself. I will also say this, and I don't want to like attack it because it is a good film, and I'm probably going to rate it as one of the better ones of last year.
Yeah.
Might even break on my top 10. I don't think I personally would have put it as the Oscar winner, like even 1917.
Yeah.
I think that's a film that, 10 years from now, people are going to look back on and say like that resonates with. Now, this film might have impacts in regards to the way cinema heads as far as like Korean films and how they play in America and audiences watching them and respecting them. And, you might have a bunch of Korean actors and directors that kind of come out of this, and, cinematographers I could see, and everybody's like, oh, well, they're Korean. We should, they take interest in that.
Right.
But as far as like changing what cinema is and how it's done, no. It was just a really good film.
Okay. That
was a very well structured film. It's almost like a domino. It's like if somebody put together a set of dominoes and everything just kind of purposefully, like perfectly aligned and knocked the next domino over to the point where it creates this like huge cataclysmic, not huge cataclysmic, but this series of really unfortunate events and this really bad situation. And it's also like a tightening. It's kind of like if you're watching like a person tighten a wire or something like that and seeing it get more and more tense, and eventually it's
like that.
Yeah, it's going to break. And I don't want to spoil any of it because I think it's one of those films you don't want to have elements spoiled too. But there was a number of times where, even though I wasn't expecting it to come in the way that it did, I was, on the edge of my seat kind of going like, no, what is about to happen?
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
That's like one of my favorites.
And there's some very clever moments, and they needed to be clever because it's like, it shows things for what they are. And then the other thing is there's a number of like, I don't want to say like darkly humorous, but they are kind of like darkly humorous type moments where you're watching it and you're kind of like, ha, that's bad, but it's also kind of funny that they did that. And it goes both ways.
Yeah.
The only other thing I kind of want to mention and talk about a little bit with it. A few things I should say. One, the acting I thought was good.
Yeah.
There wasn't anybody necessary except for maybe the father, which I believe his name is, I think it's King Ho-song.
Okay.
Yeah. King Ho-song. I've never seen him specifically to recognize anything else. He does an amazing job in this. What the film does very well, and I think this is probably one of the main reasons it was nominated as well, is the message that it's really trying to get across in the film is this idea of kind of like the haves and the have-nots, and the two sides of the coin there, and the two sides of the way that a society like this would work. And I don't know enough about Korea to be able to say, well, this is a fair representation in a depiction of what society and life is like over there. Because I know that there's a number of American films that I've seen that have a very strong, bent or slant towards a specific perspective on our society. And I'm like, if that got sent to another country, then I'd be like, that's probably not exactly, it might be a shade of that.
Right.
And so I want to say the same thing about this. Now, is it compellingly presented? Very much so. Yeah. And you really get a feel for sort of the internal tragedy of a situation like this and what this could mean for people if they were to experience this in real life.
Yeah.
And it definitely makes you relate to that and take notice. And I think that's one of the things that's so effectively done with the film. So acting overall was good. It wasn't like amazing. It didn't blow my socks off. I wouldn't have necessarily nominated anybody for like best actor of the year. Special effects, there was very minimal special effects and didn't really need to be that. Cinematography though was very good.
Cool.
Very outstanding. The music was also very good, very
awesome,
mood-like, and it set the tone and everything. There was also a number of very, I'd say, well-paced and well-structured elements to the script.
Cool.
They knew how to play things out in just such a way. And I think that would maybe be my only slight other gripe with it, is that it felt kind of like these characters almost started to become caricatures. Because it was like they need to fit this checkbox in order to allow this next thing to happen.
Right.
But it didn't feel so overwhelmingly like that I wasn't able to just kind of enjoy it for the story that it was. It felt like, that's kind of my way of putting that, it felt like this was a very specific set of characters and circumstances that had to align in just such a way for the things that transpired to take place. And that's not bad, because it was still very interesting and compelling and suspenseful.
Right.
But it felt a little bit forced.
Yeah.
Just a little bit. So hopefully nobody thinks that's like a negative.
Did you like it better than Okja?
Yes.
Okay.
100% yes. The only thing I really liked about Okja was the cinematography.
Yeah.
But this one, I mean, like I said, it might have actually broke on to maybe a top 10 for me.
Cool, man.
But it would have been on the lower end. But
I'm excited to see it, because people tell me, I've been hearing that it goes in a different direction than you think it's going.
Yeah, and I don't want to spoil that. I don't even want to say when or how.
Yeah, that's fine.
But it's a good movie.
Cool.
So I'm going to rate this, I'm going to actually give it an 87.
Right on.
Which isn't like good or bad. I think it's good, but actually it's more good than bad.
Yeah, it's definitely good. I think is when you dip down into the low 80s and 70s, when it's like kind of like, meh, it was okay. Yeah,
it's not going to be a movie that I'm going to sit down and watch. Like, that's the other thing. The rewatchability of it is good in the sense that you kind of want to see if you caught things the right way.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of nuance as far as like maybe visual metaphors that kind of play out throughout the thing, but the metaphors that are all there are not like, I personally didn't feel that they were overly complex. They felt like kind of one simple metaphor type thing.
Well, that's awesome. It's cool to hear. Two movies that we both, liked, an A- and a B+ respectively. Really, really solid. Really excited I'm actually really excited to see Parasite still. I think that's going to be, I can let you know what I think about that as soon as I see it.
Yeah, it's about to go out of theaters probably.
Oh, I got to get into there. Okay. All right. So, guys, now it's back to you. Thank you for listening to the reviews. Chime in. Let us know what you guys thought. Again, you can reach out to us in a number of different ways. Our website, reelreviewmedia.com, and then also at Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. At Reel Review Media. Again, reel like movie reel, fishing reel, whatever's easier for you to remember. And then also you can email us. Let us know what you thought about those movies. Are we way off base here? Are we right on the money with our reviews? Let us know at our email address, which is reelreviewmedia@gmail.com. And you can do that there. With all that being said, Joel, what else you got? Anything?
I don't know. What is coming out this weekend? Is it anything big coming out this weekend? I have not looked yet.
I don't know just
I should
yet.
know this better, but I'm not sure what I'm going to be seeing over this weekend.
We'll see something awesome.
Yeah.
Let's just say that.
That sounds great.
I'm going to just be optimistic. Yes.
I'm going to be middleist and say, I'll see something okay.
Yeah, I'll see something average.
Averagely good. Yeah.
Anyways. Anyways, with that being said, Joel, it's been real.
It's been real.